You just finished dinner. You're full, genuinely full. Your stomach is satisfied and your body has everything it needs. But somehow, about 20 minutes later, your hand reaches for something sweet anyway. A piece of chocolate, a cookie, maybe just a spoonful of ice cream straight from the container. You tell yourself, this is the last time. You promise you'll stop tomorrow. But the craving doesn't care about your promises. It comes back the next night. And the night after that. Sound familiar? If it does, you're not alone. Millions of people around the world go through this exact cycle every single day. They eat well at dinner. They feel proud of their choices. And then something pulls them right back to sugar before the night is over. Most of us blame this on weak willpower. We think it's a discipline problem, a personal failure, a bad habit we just can't seem to break no matter how hard we try. We've read the articles. We know sugar is harmful. We've told ourselves 100 times to stop. And honestly, that belief makes us feel guilty every single time we give in. But what if I told you that your sugar cravings might not be coming from your brain at all? What if the real source is somewhere much deeper inside your body? Somewhere you've probably never thought to look. Recent science is pointing to something genuinely surprising. The trillions of tiny bacteria living inside your gut may be the ones pulling the strings behind your cravings. They send chemical signals up to your brain, and those signals can make you desperately want sugar, even when your body doesn't need it at all. And here's what makes this truly fascinating. There's a simple ancient method that may help you reset this entire system from the inside out. In today's video, we're going to explore how fasting can reshape the bacteria living in your gut and potentially silence those stubborn sugar cravings for good. This is educational content, not medical advice. Please talk to your doctor before trying any fasting method. But before we get into how fasting helps, we first need to understand what's actually happening inside your gut right now. Because once you see the full picture, everything about your relationship with sugar starts to make sense. Right now, as you're watching this, there are roughly 38 trillion bacteria living in your digestive system. To put that in perspective, that's more bacterial cells than human cells in your entire body. Together, they form what scientists call the gut microbiome. Think of it as a massive, bustling city right inside you with thousands of different species all living together competing for space and resources. Now, these bacteria are not just sitting there quietly. They're incredibly active. They break down food. They produce vitamins. They train your immune system. But here's the part that changes everything. They also produce chemical messengers that travel straight up to your brain. And the highway they use is called the vagus nerve. This is a long nerve that runs directly from your gut all the way to your brain like a private phone line connecting the two. Whatever happens in your gut, your brain hears about it almost immediately through this direct line. So when you eat a lot of sugar over days and weeks, the bacteria that thrive on sugar start growing fast. They multiply. They get stronger. They start outnumbering the other species. And as their population grows, they begin sending more and more chemical signals through that phone line saying, "We need sugar. Send us more." Your brain receives those signals, and what does it do? It creates a craving that feels completely like it's your own desire. But in many ways, it's actually coming from them. What makes this even more unsettling is that some gut bacteria can produce tiny proteins that closely resemble your own hunger hormones. So your brain doesn't just receive a vague suggestion. It gets a signal that looks and feels almost identical to real hunger. That's why sugar cravings can feel so urgent, so physical, so impossible to ignore. It's not just a thought. It's chemistry being mimicked from below. And it goes deeper than just cravings. Around 90 to 95% of serotonin, the chemical that helps you feel calm, content, and emotionally stable, is actually produced in your gut, not in your brain. Most people are shocked when they hear this. We tend to think of the brain as the control center for everything emotional. But the gut is a major player too. So when the bacteria in your gut are out of balance, it doesn't just affect what you eat. It can affect how you feel, how you sleep, and how you handle everyday stress. The gut and the brain are talking to each other constantly, and when the conversation goes wrong, you feel it everywhere. And this isn't just theory. In a study published in the Journal of Proteome Research, scientists ran a fascinating experiment. They divided volunteers into two groups: people who craved chocolate and people who felt completely indifferent to it. Here's the key detail. Both groups were fed the exact same diet, same food, same portions, same timing, everything identical. But when researchers analyzed their urine, they found something remarkable. The chocolate cravers had completely different bacterial byproducts in their system compared to the indifferent group. Same meals going in, but different bacteria processing them and producing different chemical signals. The craving wasn't about the food they ate. It was about the bacteria already living inside them. Same diet, different gut bacteria, different cravings. That's simple and that powerful. So if bacteria can drive your cravings like this, the obvious question becomes, can you actually change which bacteria are in charge? Can you fire the ones working against you and promote the ones working for you? This is exactly where fasting enters the picture. And what it does inside your gut is genuinely remarkable. When you stop eating, you're not just giving your body a break from calories. You're also cutting off the food supply for every single bacterium living in your gut. And this is the crucial part. Not all bacteria respond the same way to this sudden famine. The ones that depend on sugar and simple carbs need a constant stream of fuel to survive. Without it, they weaken quickly. They start dying off within hours. But the beneficial bacteria, the ones with deeper survival strategies that can switch to other energy sources, they hold on. They adapt. They survive. Think of it like a garden during a drought. When the water stops, the weeds, with shallow roots, are the first to wilt and die. But the strong plants with deep roots keep going because they can reach water that the weeds can't. Fasting does the same thing inside your gut. It creates a selective pressure that starves the troublemakers while the beneficial species hold their ground. And as those sugar-loving bacteria decline in number, something important starts happening in your brain. The chemical loop between your gut and your brain begins to quiet down. Those constant "give me sugar" signals get weaker and less frequent. The cravings that once felt impossible to resist begin to soften and fade. Not because you suddenly found more willpower, but because there are simply fewer bacteria left sending those demanding signals. This is actually something many people notice during a fast, often without understanding why. The first day is usually the hardest. The cravings can feel intense, almost overwhelming. But by day 2 or 3, something shifts. The noise quiets, the urgency fades. People describe it as a strange calm settling in. And now, you know what's behind it. The bacteria that were screaming for sugar are losing their voice. Of course, this doesn't mean fasting as long as possible is always better. Everything in biology needs balance, and we'll talk more about limits in a moment. But the science behind this selective die-off is powerful. Fasting doesn't destroy everything in your gut. It targets the right things. Research on people who did water-only fasting for 7 days showed significant changes in their gut bacteria composition, including reductions in harmful species like Fusobacterium. The gut ecosystem can shift meaningfully in less time than most people would expect. Now, here's where the story takes a hopeful turn. When those sugar-dependent bacteria die off, they leave behind empty space in the ecosystem. Gaps. And just like an empty plot of land after a storm clears the weeds away, that open space becomes an opportunity for something better to grow. Beneficial bacteria begin moving in and claiming new territory. The lining of your gut, which may have been weakened by years of high-sugar diets and chronic low-level inflammation, starts repairing itself. One particularly important species that tends to flourish during fasting is called Akkermansia. This bacterium does something special. It strengthens the gut wall, reduces inflammation, and improves how your body responds to insulin, the hormone that manages your blood sugar levels. Here's what makes this even more fascinating. Akkermansia has been found in notably higher amounts in people who live past 100 years old. Scientists studying these centenarians around the world noticed something they shared in common: more of these protective bacteria thriving inside their guts. Longevity and a healthy microbiome seem to walk hand in hand. At the same time, other beneficial bacteria start producing helpful compounds called short-chain fatty acids. Think of these as repair workers for your gut. They strengthen the gut lining, calm inflammation, and most importantly for our story, they send fullness signals up to your brain. So instead of the old "need more sugar" messages constantly buzzing upward, your brain starts receiving a very different kind of message. One that says, "We're satisfied, we're good, we don't need anything else right now." In one study on people who followed the Buchinger fasting method for 5 days, researchers found a significant increase in a bacterium called Christensenella, a species strongly linked to healthy body weight and longer life. The gut already knows how to heal itself. It just needs the right conditions to do its work. Now let's follow this process even further, because what happens in the gut absolutely does not stay in the gut. Once the microbiome has shifted toward a healthier balance, the signals traveling up through the vagus nerve to your brain change completely. And this may be the most exciting part of the entire journey, because this isn't just about removing a craving. It's about replacing it with something better. When beneficial bacteria dominate your gut, they don't just stop sending sugar demands. They actively send calmer, more balanced signals. Instead of that urgent "feed me now" alarm, the new message is quieter, steadier. Something closer to "we're doing fine, we have what we need." People who experience this shift often describe it as a kind of peace around food they haven't felt in years. The constant mental chatter about what to eat, what to resist, what they shouldn't have had, it gets quieter. And that quiet is not emptiness, it's relief. Here's how the pathway works. Certain beneficial gut bacteria produce substances that stimulate your intestines to release a hormone called GLP-1. GLP-1 then signals your liver to produce another hormone called FGF21. And FGF21 travels directly to the area of your brain that controls food preferences, where it essentially turns down the desire for sweet things. In early 2025, a research team published a groundbreaking study in the journal Nature Microbiology that mapped this entire chain in detail. They identified a specific gut bacterium called Bacteroides vulgatus that produces a form of vitamin B5 called pantothenate. This pantothenate triggers the exact GLP-1 to FGF21 pathway. When they introduced this bacterium into diabetic mice, those mice significantly reduced their sugar intake on their own. No willpower required, no medication needed, And here's the detail that truly turned heads. GLP-1 is the exact same molecule that blockbuster medications like Ozempic and Wegovy are designed to copy. Pharmaceutical companies spent billions developing drugs that imitate what certain gut bacteria can do naturally. In other words, your body may already have its own built-in system for reducing sugar cravings. It just needs the right bacteria to switch it on. Now, to be fair, much of this research is still in its early stages, mostly conducted in animal models. We need more human studies to confirm the full picture, but the direction is unmistakable and consistent across multiple research teams. Gut bacteria play a far bigger role in controlling sugar cravings than anyone imagined even a decade ago. And if we zoom out even further, this relationship between humans and gut bacteria isn't something new. Researchers believe this partnership stretches back millions of years. Our distant ancestors ate an incredibly diverse diet. Wild vegetables, roots, seeds, nuts, occasional meat from hunting. That diversity kept their gut ecosystems balanced. But modern diets, flooded with processed sugar and refined carbohydrates, have disrupted that ancient balance and handed sugar-loving bacteria an advantage they never had before. Fasting in this light is simply returning to a biological rhythm our bodies have known for thousands upon thousands of years. It's not something extreme. It's something deeply natural. But here's the truth most people miss. Resetting your gut is only the first chapter. The real victory is in what comes after. After you finish a fast, how you eat again matters enormously. Your digestive system has been resting. Your enzymes are low. Your gut lining is fresh and sensitive. So ease back in gently. Start with small, easily digestible meals. And most importantly, prioritize fiber. Vegetables, beans, legumes, whole grains, seeds. These are the foods your beneficial bacteria love. When you feed them the right fuel, they produce more short-chain fatty acids, the compounds that keep your gut strong, your inflammation low, and your fullness signals clear. Think of it as replanting a garden after the weeds have been cleared. What you plant next determines everything. Go straight back to sugary snacks, and those sugar-loving bacteria will bounce right back. But feed the good bacteria what they need, and they'll grow stronger and keep the balance in your favor. And here's a piece of good news that might surprise you. Research shows your gut microbiome can begin shifting in as little as 2 to 4 days of dietary change. You don't need months of perfect eating. Just a few consistent days can spark real measurable differences. That's incredibly encouraging because it means every healthy meal after a fast is already making a difference at the microscopic level. Periodic shorter fasts, even windows of 16 to 24 hours done regularly, can also help maintain this healthier balance over time. They act like routine maintenance on the ecosystem, keeping harmful species from quietly building back up. One important thing though, if you're new to fasting, don't jump straight into extended periods without food. Start small. Listen to your body, and if you experience severe dizziness, unusual heart racing, or confusion that won't pass, stop. That's your body telling you something important, and it deserves to be heard. Fasting is also not right for everyone. If you're pregnant or breastfeeding, dealing with an eating disorder, managing insulin-dependent diabetes or chronic kidney disease, underweight, or going through chemotherapy, please speak with your doctor first. Safety always comes before any potential benefit. So let me bring everything we've explored together. Your sugar cravings are not a sign of weakness. They are not a character flaw or a failure of discipline. They are biological signals sent by bacteria that happen to thrive when you eat sugar. And the remarkable truth is that you have the power to change which bacteria are sending those signals. Through fasting, you can quiet the ones that have been running the show. Through mindful refeeding, you can strengthen the ones that genuinely work in your favor. And through consistency, you can build a gut ecosystem that supports your health instead of fighting against it. Your body already knows how to heal. Trillions of beneficial bacteria are simply waiting for the chance to do what they were designed to do. Not against you, but for you. All they need is the right environment, and you can give them that. Not through extreme diets, not through expensive supplements, but through the simple, powerful act of stepping back, letting the system recalibrate, and then nourishing it with intention. And maybe the most beautiful part of this whole journey is what it reveals about the nature of cravings themselves. For so long, we've been told that cravings are a test of character, that giving in means you're weak and resisting means you're strong. But the science tells a completely different story. Your cravings were never really about willpower at all. They were biological signals from an ecosystem that needed to be rebalanced. And once you understand that, everything changes. When your body and your health goals finally point in the same direction, the struggle fades. There's no more guilt, no more war with yourself over a slice of cake, just a quiet kind of freedom. The freedom that comes not from fighting harder, but from finally understanding what was happening inside you all along. If you want to keep exploring the science behind how your body truly works, subscribe to this channel. Every week we break down complex biology into stories that actually make sense and that you can use in your own life. Because at the end of the day, the greatest discovery isn't some miracle diet or a magic pill. It's the realization that healing was never something you had to go out and find. It was already inside you, waiting quietly in the trillions of tiny lives you carry with you everywhere you go.